Hey YouTube, welcome back to another History Teacher Reacts video with Mr. Terry as I continue my search for historical knowledge here on YouTube. Alright, today's video was chosen by Patreon, and that is Salmonella's The Wild World of Inuit Folklore. Excited that they voted on this because I love Salmonella videos. They're informative, they're funny, and I know you guys get a kick out of them too because they get great views and great feedback. So I hope you will like this too. If you would like to be a part of the polls that Patreon pledgers get to participate, then become a member. Down in the description, you will see a link to the Patreon. And currently right now, at least as of now, Patreon pledges start as low as $1. $1 a month gets you access to that, supports the channel a little bit. Higher pledges get some other benefits like more Discord features, which is pretty cool too. But if you haven't subbed to this channel, thank you, thank you in advance for subbing. Hopefully you enjoy our history community and join along with me as I always say, trying to further my knowledge here for history and to become a better history teacher and just a fan of history. So let's go ahead and get started. We got today's episode, The Wild World of Inuit Folklore. All right, Sam, what do you got for us? Very sophisticated. Love that intro.
Hey kids,
Hey.
From clubbing seals to inventing new compound nouns for snow, nobody knows how to kick it quite like the Inuit. Of course, if you're a close-minded tree dweller like me, you might initially think that they can't be that good at storytelling, given that they only know about like 6 things. But that's not true. They've actually got an incredibly complex and fascinating oral
7
tradition.
things.
You could ask one about it. There's plenty of these guys around today.
Ooh, let's look. 65,000. So a lot of people you don't know, the Inuit are natives to the to like Canada and the more Arctic regions there. So it's amazing that those people exist given the terrain and the climate. Maybe that helps. They don't have to compete with other humans as much, although there's obviously going to be tribal issues but pretty amazing those people even existed. Plus, they're the ones, their ancestors are the ones that fought off, Vikings and the earliest of the Europeans that came over to North America there. So they're pretty tough people, I mean, to survive and then defend themselves the way that they have. But looking at the numbers, we've got 65,000 Canada and United States, mostly Alaska, 16,000, 50,000 in Greenland, and even back in Denmark. So does that mean they moved there or are native to there? Probably the former there. All right, let's see what we got, Sam.
But they've got Jesus and microwaves and shit, and that's boring. We want to talk about the stuff from before missionaries came and sent their miserable way of life to a farm upstate. So instead, let a 20-year-old college kid who's never lived outside of Delaware tell you all about it. Obvious disclaimer, Inuits are super diverse. Calling a caribou Inuit a copper Inuit is like calling a copper caribou a caribou caribou. Sure, they both look the same from far away, but when a thunderstorm hits, you better know which one to hide under. As such, while most of the following can be applied in broad terms to most storm hits, you better know which one to hide under. As such, while
I'll make sure to add that to my next lesson.
most of the following can be applied in broad terms to most Inuits, the little details come from a variety of subcultures that don't necessarily represent the whole. Got it? Swank. Now, a lot of the world's faiths are centered around bringing people together and inspiring them with stories and images of the divine, so as to give them a wider sense of purpose here on Earth. That's all well and good, but that whole search for greater meaning thing only really comes into play once your original purpose of making sure you don't die is pretty much figured out.
Very
Not
true.
so for the Inuit. You see,
I mean, in the big picture, right? Your temporal well-being is going to be better than your long-term or spiritual well-being. So I wonder what he's getting at here, though, with that. Just more about their survival aspects.
it's so easy living in a place where plants can't grow and being naked for an hour means certain death. As such, their beliefs were a little more practical, being more so
Makes
geared
sense.
towards fostering the paranoid levels of fear required to survive in such a hostile environment.
Right, it's like, okay, need 1, survive. Need 2, okay, afterlife or something. So makes sense that since survival is so difficult that their focus is going to be on more temporal study, I guess.
For example, the Inuit believe that everyone has a sort of life force or soul, what they called Anirnik, and like plenty of religions, they believed it lived on after death and could meddle in the world of mortals. But while most cultures regard animals as being spiritually inferior meat puppets, to the Inuits, a creature's soul is just as powerful and vengeful as that of a person. And like I said, up there in the Arctic, not much greenery in the scenery, so they basically had no choice but to devour nothing but souls every single day. And wouldn't you know it, souls don't much care for getting ate. So the Inuit made sure to follow a complex set of guidelines on how to placate their prey in the afterlife, lest the pissed off ghost of that Arctic tern whispers sweet nothings into a polar bear's ears and turns your whole village into a big Japanese flag by sunrise. Here's a few. If you kill something, make sure you eat it all. Just as an American who doesn't clean his plate doesn't get dessert, an Inuit who doesn't eat all his walrus doesn't get any more walrus.
I mean, since resources are so scarce, yeah, you're gonna need to use every part of it. There's definitely cultures like that. Most native cultures in general, they're very efficient in their use of animals and nature because they know they gotta replenish it. They know it that it's really bad to be wasteful. You find that actually all over the planet there.
Till they starve. If you kill a polar bear, make sure to point its head towards the direction it came from so it can find its way home more easily. If you pull a seal out of the water, give him some fresh water so he's not thirsty when you bash his brain in. Also, its spirit lives in its bladder, so make sure to hold on to it until the yearly bladder festival, where everyone gets together, blows up their bladders like balloons, and throws them out to sea so they can reincarnate into new seals. These taboos aren't all just about hunting though.
Seems
For some
legit.
reason there's a load of them about pregnancy. Don't make fun of people's facial features or else the baby will have the same features. Don't walk backwards or else the baby will come out backwards. Dangerous. Face your
They're very literal people, aren't they? Very literal people.
bed towards a doorway or it'll come out sideways. Also dangerous. Don't wrap rope around your hand or it'll come out with the umbilical cord around its neck. Extremely dangerous. Don't drink directly from a soup bowl or it'll come out with dark skin. Not touching that one. Don't put a bowl on your head or else it'll be wearing the placenta like a hat. Too hilarious. And the list goes on. Central to the consequences of breaking a lot of these rules is the being known as Sedna. The story behind Sedna varies pretty wildly between different groups of Inuits, but here's the gist of it. She was once a young girl who pissed everyone off, either by being annoying or eating too much food or rejecting an arranged marriage or marrying a dog for some reason. So her father throws her out of a kayak, and when she tries to get back in, he chops off all her fingers. The sea goddess sees this, furrows her long floppy seaweed brow, does a sassy snap, and the girl turns into an immortal sea witch, while her disembodied fingers turn into the first seals. And to this day, Sedna sits at the bottom of the ocean, growing new fingers which promptly fall off and turn into all the world's seal lions and narwhalruses.
Wow. Okay, so they have an origin story for all this stuff, all of their natural interactions there. Like getting your fingers cut off and they regrowing, but then those things become what, narwhals and seals and all that stuff. All right. Very fascinating.
That is until someone goofs up in some small arbitrary fashion like, yo, Sedna, bad news. I just caught a guy chewing a piece of blubber. What's wrong with that? Well, he wasn't looking north while he did it. Are you fucking kidding me? In his defense, he was standing right on the pole, so he literally couldn't look anywhere but south. He could have moved! That's it! No more fingy foods for 3 moons! Another fun creation myth is how the moon and sun came to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they feel a lot, a lot of cultures, earlier cultures, they, of course, believe that most natural things happen due to supernatural intervention. So, like, if, there is a famine or weather or, again, some natural thing, they attribute it to a supernatural intervention. Again, like a deity. Deities control nature, they control food, they control all these events, and that's a reflection of it. So the harder something is to naturally explain, insert supernatural explanation, and that's been kind of basically human history, right?
So long ago, there were these 2 siblings named Melina and Aningin. The 2 got along just fine as kids, but as the 2 got older, they were put into their respective genders' living areas and saw each other less and less. Then one day, Aningin got the feeling that his lower nose was in dire need of some Eskimo kisses. So that night, he snuck into the women's lodges, saw his sister, thought, I pick that one, and proceeded to do, unspeakable things, technically becoming his own Eskimo brother. But it was too dark at the time for Melina to tell what happened. The next night, Aningin's like,
I'll fucking
do it again.
Only this time, Melina smears soot all over his face. So later she goes over to the men's lodges, and who has crap all over his face but her brother. This makes her so mad that she cuts off her own breasts with a knife, puts them in a bowl, throws them at an Ingen, and says, "If you enjoy me so much, then here, eat 'em. Go ahead. Eat my disembodied, quivering titties." She runs off into the night with a torch, and an Ingen is really remorseful or horny or something, so he chases after her with his own torch, and they end up running so fast that they took off like a plane into the sky, and Melina became the sun while an Ingen became the moon. Excuse me, Mrs. Elder, if the sun and moon didn't exist yet, how did he do that stuff at night when there was no night?
Don't use logic.
Now, some
Don't ask questions. Just listen to the story.
details of the story are tied into real-world phenomena. Some say that an Ingen tripped and messed up his torch, which is why the moon is so dim. And the moon cycles are because he gets really skinny from chasing after her for so long. And the new moon is when he goes away for a few days to hunt seals so he can fatten back up. But here's the kicker. Nobody ever explains what the whole lopping off her tits part was supposed to represent. That's entirely just creative liberty. Just like, yes, that's why the sun doesn't have tits. Probably for the best it doesn't, otherwise half the population will be blind by now, and worse, it's the half that makes up 85% of my viewer base. So you know what? Thanks for slicing and dicing them tea towels, Melina. I kinda owe you my career. But as for you, your eyes are valuable. You should treat them to something more substantial and informative. Like, say, a library of high-quality exclusive documentaries. Sponsor time. Curiosity Stream was founded by the dude behind the Discovery Channel, and it's great for someone like me who horks down any useless knowledge he sees, like the brave gators keeping America's sewers free of rats. And with thousands of titles, a lot of which are Curiosity Stream exclusives, it's hard not to find something that interests you. Here's a gem I watched recently. The Kingdom, How Fungi Made Our World. Mushrooms are honestly like if you told aliens about Earth and they tried their best to recreate what they thought plants were. Real wild stuff. You can try Curiosity Stream for absolutely free if you sign up at curiositystream.com/salmonella and use promo code salmonella during the sign up process. Also, signing up for a year of Curiosity Stream will now give you Nebula for free. What's Nebula? Glad I asked. A bunch of independent creators that I may or may not associate with in some way decided to start their own streaming service, completely free of ads and full of content that can't be seen anywhere else. I hardly make content for my own channel, so God knows I couldn't muster up any Nebula exclusives, but here's some guys who have. If you like them, go check it out. Anyway, that's all for today. Cool. Till next time, I'm Salmonella, and...
Okay. All right, awesome. I love Sam, and that was interesting because I know as far as Inuit, I mean folklore, I know nothing about it, but to hear some of these origin stories and supernatural explanations of nature, those are fascinating to see that come through, because there's always so many of these like epic stories that they tie. You look at any, I guess you'd call it ancient culture, pre-modern culture, anything like that, or has origins that are pre-modern, to see these fantastic stories. And I always wonder, like, I mean, they're obviously they're used as supernatural explanations of natural events, but like the origins of those actual stories, like how do you get that, like lady creature, and like does somebody, you always wonder, is it by like one person, does that starts that someone's of an influence tells that story, or are they agreed upon? Like, yeah, I always wonder about that, and that's sometimes difficult because a lot of it becomes prehistory, pre-writing, and stuff like that. So you don't get a lot of these origins or actual historiography of it. So, anyway, all right, but that was fascinating. Love Sam's channel. Great to see that. I don't know what I could have added to it other than my own just reactions there. Not much I can add from a historical perspective other than I guess what I did, but awesome. Thank you to the Patreon pledgers for picking this video this week. I try to watch as many of his videos, even just for the entertainment value, but some of those are great side stories that are great to tell in class and stuff like that, just to hook kids and things like that, as long as you can keep them, class appropriate, things like that. But awesome. Yeah, thanks again for doing that. Again, if you would like to join, there'll be a link down below to do that too. Another plug, if you have not joined our Discord community, definitely do that. There's a link down below, and you can join our pretty big historical fan sort of community and have some good discussions there. But thanks again for subscribing. Thanks for liking the video. Hope to see you around soon, and we'll see you next time. Bye.